Hello, everybody. I'm Zenith, and welcome back to the Disney Debate, where Kat Mac and I talk about Disney products and Disney in general. How's it going today, Kat?
Davy Crockett, I can't get the song out of my head.
Davy Crockett, he likes fighting everything.
It won't leave, it will never leave.
So today we reviewed Davy Crockett and the River Pirates. And this actually was much better than King of the Wild Frontier, in my opinion.
I agree, because this one actually focuses on his adventures and is not just a biography of his life. Because it was kind of like the first third of King of the Wild Frontier, except in this case they had two stories that, managed to be separate stories on their own, but at the same time, they merged into like one ongoing plot, and it's actually a lot better. It's like a lot better set up, and it flows together a lot more smoothly.
Honestly, it feels like a large film. Like, they definitely work on their own, but it definitely ties together so much better than before. You don't have these gaps of things that are going on. The basic gist of it is that Davy Crockett gets himself in a bit of a jam where his friend Georgie gets them in a river race against the King of the River, he calls himself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Mike Fink.
Mike Fink, who is a braggart and a blowhard, and they keep reiterating that throughout the special. The basic first movie plot is they have this river race. The second movie plot is that Mike helps them fight river pirates. And so it really flows well together in that structure because you have the setup in the first film, or his first special, I would call it, and you have the payoff in the second half. And to be honest, I actually liked the River Pirates section better than the race.
Well, yeah, because a lot more happens. You see a lot more fighting and, basic shit happening. And plus, the characters are a lot more likable in that case because now they're friends and they're not trying to screw each other over.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought a lot of the river race was kind of padded. There's some setups for the next special, like the setup of the Indians attacking the boats and whatnot, but I think a lot of it could have been taken into like maybe a 45-minute film instead of an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot they could have cut out, because like I said, most of it was Mike Fink trying to play dirty and trying to slow down their boat somehow, and then some of it is Davy and his crew basically cheating and trying to catch their way back up. And then there are times where the boat gets the boat gets damaged, or they go in the wrong direction and stuff, so it's just one pratfall after another.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some good content, but I think of the two films, the first is the most forgettable. Like I said, it's basically, oh, hey, here's Davy Crockett again. He and his pal Georgie, they make their way to a town. They get in a river race, and they win somehow.
I gotta say, though, I'm glad that they gave Georgie more things to do. Because that was like one of the big problems with King of the Wild Frontier, is that they had Georgie there as sort of like his sidekick, but there was large chunks where he ended up like not doing anything. And when you have a talent like Buddy Ebsen, and he's not used to his full potential, it's really disheartening to see.
Yeah, they definitely utilized Georgie a lot, especially for the beginning of the first half. He's the one who got them in the mess. He got really drunk off his ass. And when I say drunk, yeah, he's swinging off the chandelier.
No, he's paddling around the chandelier.
So that, he's really enjoyable in this, and I think Georgie has a much increased role. Davy Crockett actually seems to be better acted here. Fess Parker, once again, reprises his role. And he squints a lot less, and he seems to have a lot less of a braggart attitude about himself. I don't know if it's because he was going up against Mike Fink, who is a real douche, but he definitely seemed a lot less braggy, or a lot less confident. No, not confidence. Not the right word. A lot less.
Oh, the Gary Stew.
Yeah, he's just not like doing whatever he wants now. You know, in King of the Wild Frontier, he just did whatever the hell he wanted.
And it always came out on top, and everything else went his way.
In this, it's more he's confident, he knows he can do what's right, but he's not the one getting into this mess. He's not the one getting them into the problems. And I think that's what really works about it, because Georgie seems like the person who would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their friendship that really gets them out of the tough scrapes.
I also think part of it is that Davy finally meets like his rival in Mike Fink, because they're both good and sort of a legendary figure in what they each do. And then when you put them head to head, they're basically trying to show each other up, and sometimes they win, sometimes they get the better of one another. So, and it's pretty interesting to see, and they actually have an interesting chemistry between them.
There's a very nice dynamic in the relationship between Mike Fink and Davy Crockett. And I think it's evened out by Georgie a lot, because, you know, you have these two people, like, butting heads all the time, and then Georgie's cracking jokes and, you know, saying, "We can take him, come on, Davy," and it's a really nice change of pace from the normal Davy Crockett that I'm used to. But like I said, as soon as they get on the riverboats, it definitely feels really padded, and I kind of was just sitting back and drifting off, so to say, you know? It gets to the point where they're still going down the river, and we know that Davy Crockett's going to win in the end. It's Davy Crockett.
Yeah. I think part of it is also the fact that they use, like, the worst form of water transportation. Because, like, they use keel boats, and for those of you who don't know what keel boats are, they're basically, I wouldn't say ships, but like good size, like fishing boats, except that they don't have like any motors or steam-powered engines or anything like that. You basically have 4 men on each side of the boat taking these long sticks and just pushing the boat down the river. That is how they travel. So, and when you try to turn that into a race, it's like, okay, let's see which crew tires out first. You know, there's not really much skill involved unless you have guys who, like, you know, have strength of Superman and can keep going no matter what. So, like I said, I think that was part of it, because, you know, it's like, oh, right, a great boat race. Paddle.
Yeah. It's not even like a paddle boat. Like, this is, in juxtaposition to last week, you know, we did the Great Locomotive Chase. That was pretty tense, and you know, locomotives don't really move that fast, but it was very tense. Here it's just like, we're going down the river. It's like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. It's pretty slow, and it doesn't get the blood pumping, you know? Mm-hmm. It's not the type of thing that really gets you interested. Or I don't want to speak for everyone here. It doesn't get me interested that much.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, there was maybe, like, at one point where I thought that they might lose, but once again, you know, it's Davy Crockett. He's basically the Jesus of the Wild Frontier. He's always going to come out on top no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest detriment of the race itself is, you know, when you have a legendary figure like that, and you say, oh, he's just going to go down, it's going to be a big race, you know who's going to win. And I did like the ending, though. I thought that was nice that he let Mike Fink keep the title King of the River, and they became friends. And I thought that was a great way to kind of, you know, showcase how different they are. Because Mike Fink would never have done that. He's a braggart, you know. He would have just been, oh, you Yankee fellas, you lost, whatever. But I think that really separates him, where Davy Crockett isn't just physically better. He's a kinder person.
Mm-hmm. Although that's not to say that Mike Fink isn't, like, a nice person either. Like, they show that there is, like, a sort of softer side to him. Like, he does appreciate it when he, like, when he receives help, he does respect those who are on his level. And, you know, he's good at what he does, and he admires those who can keep up with him. So,
Yeah,
like,
he definitely respected Davy Crockett a lot.
Mhm. So it's not like he was just a complete, total evil asshole like they could have made him. He had dimension to him. And
Yeah, he was more than a two-dimensional character in many regards.
Mhm. And you see that he has, like, somewhat of a loyalty to his crew as well. I mean, he yells at him and pushes them hard, but that's because, you know, he's good at what he does and he wants his crew to be the best. So, and like I said, I think he's by far the most fascinating part of, like, the movie. Because you see just, like, it's funny, his performance, just how much of, like, how much of, like, a swashbuckling sailor he is, and then you see him get into, like, certain situations that, you know, he's not quite used to, and you see him, like, being all goofy about it and sort of bumbling about, and it's fun to watch. Like, he's like a weird sort of character in that aspect, just the way he reacts to certain situations.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the change of pace of Mike, and I think after the first half, he really comes into his own. Because the first half is just him being a dick. But then after a while, you definitely see a different side of his character when he's friends with Davy Crockett. The second half of the film is basically, he drops off Davy Crockett. They go off to find some horses. And when they run into some Indians, they find out that the Indians are being framed. Some people are saying that Indians are taking out riverboats. But it turns out it's actually pirates taking out these people to get their cargo. And so, with the help of Mike Fink, they work together to take down the river pirates, posing as, I think it was a Spanish riverboat.
They were posing as like bankers. Basically, they wanted to, like, sort of be the Trojan horse, where they would, you know, spread rumors that they were a rich, powerful banking company that was transporting, like, gold and valuables down the river to, like, a new location, in the hopes that, you know, somebody from one of the pirates would catch wind of them, lead them to the location, and then they, you know, spring a trap on them.
Yeah, so this is a much more action-packed. You have, like, from the very get-go, you have this conflict. It's people are posing as Indians, and so there's three different factions involved with this. There's the Indians, there's Davy Crockett and Fink, and then there's the pirates. And so it eventually culminates to all sides fighting, since the Indians don't like being framed, and it built up to a nice climax. At the end, like, there's this huge fight. It's somewhat silly, but I thought it was really well handled.
I was laughing all throughout the fight. Well, once again, it's sort of the same problem with the original, in that the fighting is just so over the top and goofy. Because, like I said, every time someone gets hit or shot, they fall straight into the water. Doesn't matter what direction they were hit. Doesn't matter where they were standing. They immediately fall into the water.
And that is why we watch Davy Crockett, for the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love that delightfully campiness. And I think what works about it this time is the fact that the movie takes itself a bit more seriously than the previous Davy Crockett films. Mm-hmm. With King of the Wild Frontier, I didn't take anything seriously at all, especially the way he conducted himself. Okay, you people, this political system, I'm gonna mess it up by saying a speech. I didn't take any of that seriously, but here there is clear political conflict, and it's much more subtle. And so, you know, when the campy stuff did happen, I welcomed it.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to see that they were a bit more sensitive this time around to the Native Americans. Like,
well, a bit. Should we mention the red face?
Yeah, we may as well point that out.
Basically what happens is, to escape from the Indians in the beginning, they put on red face and pretend to be Indians and go over to Mike Fink's ship. And the whole time I'm like, good God, you're drunk and shockingly racist. No one was wearing blackface. Wait, wrong movie. But yeah, it was definitely kind of out of place racism, probably inadvertently. I don't think it was on purpose.
Well, they were doing it to sort of blend in and then steal their canoe. So, you know, they kind of did have to, like, sort of sneak their way within the ranks. And while I think, you know, putting the red paint on was a bit excessive, you know, they probably could have just done some sort of war paint or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of racist.
Yeah, I think it was unconscious racism, but still pretty bad.
Yeah, because I mean, like, when they first meet up with the chief of the first Indian tribe, their dialogue back and forth is a lot better because, unlike in the first movie where Davy flat out tells the chief that he's responsible for the war between the red men and white men, he actually listens to the guy's point of view, and he believes him when he says that the Indians haven't been robbing and killing people.
Mm-hmm. He actually also says it goes both ways. Like, you know, I know you're upset that you're being targeted, but at the same time, you're declaring war on these people.
Yeah.
You've been attacking the people who have been outing you. So, you know, it's a kind of a two-way street. The fact is, I think they kind of have to have a more Gandhi-ish approach where, you know, you can't have revenge on everything. And I think that's what he's saying in that.
Right. Yeah. And that was fine. You know, I liked that whole exchange between them. And then they ruined it with the red face.
Always with the red face.
Or any type of colored face.
But yeah, so I mean, other than that little gripe, I thought the second half was much better. It was much more attention grabbing, and there was a lot more at stake for all parties. In the first half, the only thing that was at stake was furs.
Pretty much, like furs and pride.
Yeah. Ow, my pride. Oh, God.
Yeah, and then in this case, what's at stake is the safety and well-being of a tribe and those that the tribe go after. So it's actually safety for, like, personal safety for a lot of people. Plus, you know, Davy and George themselves, because, you know, the Indians outright said, if you don't stop this, we're probably going to kill you.
So should we talk about the characters individually?
I believe we can. I mean, we kind of said all we did about, like, the ones that matter. Because, I mean, we already know about Davy Crockett and Georgie Russell.
Yeah, we already know Davy Crockett and Georgie Russell. They're pretty much the same characters, except for Davy Crockett is a bit more dialed back. Mike Fink, we talked about, you know, he's a braggart, but he definitely has a good heart. And in the second half, he really changes a lot. Well, not changes, but more. We learn more about him, and he actually becomes a much more watchable character. The only other real character is the leader of the pirates, but I don't know if it's just me, but was he ever named?
They're actually a group. They're the Harpy Brothers. They're like three bandits who had decided to do sort of like a scheme in that they basically rob people like when they're like most vulnerable, but they do it as like, again, it's disguised as the Indians, so that way nobody knows that it's actually them and they just reap the benefits. But yeah, we never get to really know them like individually. I mean, every scene you see them in, it's like, har har, I'm an evil bandit, I'm gonna screw people over and take gold and kill, 'cause that's all I'm good at, har har har.
Are you gonna wash your hands? No, 'cause I'm evil.
Pretty much.
like these are the stereotypically evil pirates, and honestly, I think this is one of the biggest detriments. The fact that, first of all, they aren't really characters in their own right, but they're just kind of like there and they're evil. The thing is, people don't do things because they're evil. You don't go out and say, hey, I'm going to go put on black robes because I'm evil, because I like being evil. No, people don't consider themselves evil if they're evil. They have objectives, they have motives, they have goals. And I guess you could say the pirates are motivated by greed, but it doesn't showcase here.
Actually, I'm looking up the history, and apparently they portrayed real people. Like, the leader was actually Samuel Mason, who was at one point a revolutionary military captain and eventually turned pirate. So, these apparently are actually real characters. So, would have been nice if they gave a little more backstory on that, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, they could have done a bit more about it, but it isn't really about the pirates. It's all about Davy Crockett. And I think in that regard, if you look at it purely as this is a Davy Crockett film, you definitely get enough of that.
Yeah, I just think that they either could have fleshed out the villains more, or they could have just gone with different characters, because really you don't know the difference.
Yeah, if I didn't even know they were real people, so yeah, if they had used someone else, I mean, this isn't a documentary. This isn't the Great Locomotive Chase here. You don't have to use real people.
True. And from what I see, like, because apparently this is like a Davy Crockett legend, but I can't really find anything linking them to Davy Crockett.
Well, it's kind of like Paul Bunyan. You have these legends and people keep spinning tales about it. So this just could have been like either an unpublished one or just something that Disney was like, we need more of this. Fred, write up an adventure.
And yeah, and then like the other characters, like, they really are like sort of like just there. They're just background people. Like, you have Mike Fink's crew, none of which really have their own individual names or personality. And then like some of the men that are on the boat Davy was on. Like, it had that old captain of the boat that he steered, but again he was just like the elderly captain. And yeah, there's just really nothing else to say about anyone else. They're just there.
They aren't really. They're more stock. They're there to look like the crew. They don't say or do anything really interesting. In fact, in the second part, there's when Mike Fink, goes off into the river, the only thing you hear is Mike Fink ordering around his crew. You don't really hear his crew say anything.
Pretty much.
And that lasts a whole 2 minutes of him ordering around his crew.
I mean, some of them get like a line once in a while, but you can't tell one person from another. So.
Honestly, even from the looks of it, the way they make him up, they make him look similar and crew-ish. And honestly, it's not about the crew anyway. It's about the three main characters. So if you're watching it just for Davy Crockett, then you're going to get what you came for. If you're watching it for like anyone else, for the side characters, it's really, the characterization is just okay. The music is pretty much your average Davy Crockett tunes. You have them singing about their praises and exposition, and it's definitely catchy. Any Davy Crockett song uses the same theme. It's catchy. It'll never leave you. The background music is pretty stock. It repeats itself a lot, and I think that is kind of where we get into the problem territory. I got sick of the background music after a while.
Yeah. And I must say I did sort of like Mike Fink's theme music. Apparently he's so badass he gets his own theme music as well.
Yeah, when he comes in, he comes in with his theme music, and he's like directly combating Davy Crockett's theme song. So that was pretty interesting.
And then I think that's another character that shows up for like a bit. Is like what was his name? Is like called Colonel Plug. He's like a wandering minstrel who happens to secretly be working for the pirates. He sings like this one song to sort of alert them that he's on a ship that has gold. So he kind of like he actually does something like productive in that he sabotages the boat, but I think he drowns after that. They kind of just leave him in like the sinking boat, and that's the last you see of him.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, what do you know? Turns out Mike Fink was a real person, too.
Oh, he was?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he actually was a king of the keelboaters.
King of the river, and don't you forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they even had his look down, from what I see.
Honestly, before doing research, I never even knew that Davy Crockett was a real person. I thought it was more like a Paul Bunyan-type character. But it's interesting that these legends are actually real. I don't know how much they were fabricated to turn into these specials, but it's fun learning about these people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Give the guy props for, being able to go up and down the Mississippi River in a keelboat.
Yeah, good God, I would never last in a keelboat.
Seriously, you'd have, like, the muscles of Hulk Hogan.
Well, I think that's pretty much all we can say about Davy Crockett and the River Pirates. It was interesting in the second half, and it definitely had some good stuff in the first half. There were some strengths and some weaknesses. I liked it a lot better than the King of the Wild Frontier, and I thought it was better connected. But at the same time, King of the Wild Frontier has so much more camp value to it. It's more funny. It's in a way, it's a little bit more engaging in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
What would I rather watch? I'd probably just rather watch the first King of the Wild Frontier special and call it a day.
Yeah, I'd probably do that too, because, you compare the two movies. With King of the Wild Frontier, you had a great first act, you had a boring middle act, and then, like, a padded third act. And then with Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, with both parts, you kind of have an, okay first and second half.
Yeah, well, I think it's a okay first half, good second half. But there's just nothing, there's not too much to latch on to besides, like, some of the action, great characterization. If anything, I would at least start with King of the Wild Frontier, the first special. But overall, what are your thoughts?
Like I said, they did a good job with what they had, and, props to them for being able to, like, film and perform and all that on top of, like, real boats in the middle of a river. But I don't know, for me, it's the same problem as the first, in that while there is some funny camp moments and some interesting scenes, ultimately it is kind of boring, and probably wouldn't appeal to the vast majority if they viewed it today.
Would you recommend it?
I'd recommend it if people like the first one, because in ways it does improve upon it and shows better examples of Davy Crockett's exploits. But to, like, a casual moviegoer, probably not.
I would have to kind of agree. I would recommend it if you like the first special. In fact, I would just recommend watching the second half because a lot of it is somewhat explained to you, and then, just watch that instead. But overall, it's good, not great. It does some things right. It improves upon its predecessor, but at the same time, it loses a lot of what makes the predecessor fun and campy. I liked that it tried to take a serious tone, but when it became really serious, it sometimes got really boring. And I think that's one of the biggest problems of early films in, say, the 50s, where if they try to be campy, they're somewhat enjoyable, if silly or disjointed. If they try to be serious, you end up with So Dear to My Heart. And
don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. So, I mean, this is a common problem of the 50s. I think that older audiences will like this, especially for the nostalgic value that it holds. In terms of filmmaking, I don't think it's a very big achievement. Go out and see the first King of the Wild Frontier special. It's much more campy. It's much more fun. You get to see him punch bears and alligators and have bad effects. It's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. This, it had much more of a budget, it seems, and at the same time, it has less heart to it.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much made it clear that they made these simply because the first Davy Crockett seemed to do so well, and they were hoping to capitalize on it further. And of course, they couldn't quite make it go as far.
I can understand why this only lasted for a little bit while, because honestly, if you're gonna pick a tale, I don't think riverboating would be your best bet. If you want pirates, Pirates of the Caribbean, another Disney franchise. You can see the big difference there.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this was sort of Disney's first attempt at, starting a television show, trying to keep it ongoing, and doing it within somewhat of a good budget, but at the same time trying to rush it out in time so it can, the masses can see it, and they don't have to really pay for a movie ticket to go see it. As I said, it was the 50s. TV was sort of starting out, so obviously there are a lot of things that are going to be different and kind of shaky, but it was a decent first try in my opinion.
Definitely a decent first try, and one thing I did like, the version we watched on YouTube had Walt Disney talking to the audience about what they were about to view. And personally, I've never actually seen Disney on film, talking to an audience like that. I've never, aside from his appearance in The Reluctant Dragon, I haven't seen him on film. So it was interesting to see how he presented the film. And he definitely seemed passionate about it. The way he conducts himself, he seemed very interested in what he was talking about. And I think, say what you will about the man, but he does a good job of introducing a TV show.
And he loves his tall tales.
Yep. That's the whole reason he started Disney, was because he liked the legends and the books that he read growing up as a child, and he wanted to bring that to a wider audience. And, Disney Studios was created, so... All right, so that was Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, a two-part special that was good, not great. Next time, we have something very special for you guys. For you see, it is our 1-year anniversary of the Disney debates. We asked the audience what they wanted us to do, and the most responses said a TV show. And so what I decided to do, with Kat's permission, of course, is split up the anniversary a bit. We're going to look at a TV show and a movie that are very related, and they're Disney, and they're very nostalgic to my childhood. I don't know if Kat has a big childhood history with this.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I think a lot of kids growing up in the 90s will remember this TV show. Next time, with a special guest, Disney's Recess.
Yay.
And then, after that, Recess School's Out.
Yay!
So, we will see you guys next time for this momentous episode. We're going to have to get right on watching Recess again. It's going to be oodles and oodles of fun, and much better than Adventures in Wonderland. Screw that show. But anyway, guys, This has been the Disney Debate. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any comments, criticisms, suggestions, or Disney movie, TV show, product suggestions for us to view, you can always follow us at twitter.com/ZenithRule and twitter.com/FromTRabbit, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CatMac, facebook.com/ZenithRule, and facebook.com/DougBerry. Or you can go to our fan pages at facebook.com/The Disney Debate and facebook.com/TeamDieZenith and interact with us. We do listen to everything that people say. We love interaction, and we want to see what you think of the show. But anyway, I'm Zenith Rule.
And I am Kat Mac /FromTRabbit/CatTCritic.
And we will see you guys next time when we travel back in time to the 1990s.
Ooh. Well, technically we'd be going forward in time since we're in the 50s now.
Don't use logic on me.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Thank you for watching the Media Meltdown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. And if you like what you see, show your support on the Patreon page at patreon.com/Media Meltdown. See you all next time on the Media Meltdown.